Welcome everyone to this review of The Rise of the Skywalker. Today we will be reviewing obviously this piece of movie, and we will be dissecting it into every single bit and analyzing each detail, each part as well as we can, excluding the beginning because I was a bit late for that. And yeah, let's get started. So this is what I wrote down for the introduction or the beginning of the movie. Obviously, as I said, I missed out some part of that, but from what I've seen, this is what I wrote. Personally, I felt that the beginning was rather intriguing, the way Palps was reintroduced into the franchise. However, the whole premise of Palpatine still being alive feels like Disney milking the franchise and trying to play the old nostalgia card. It did, however, connect all three eras conveniently. A great disappointment to me was the fact that Hayden Christensen didn't play a bigger part in this movie. I would have loved to see him as Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker, potentially in the form of a Force ghost. Kylo's obsession with the dark side felt deep-rooted at the exposition of the movie, considering he is still attached to his grandfather when he's still looking at the helmet of Darth Vader. Rey's training felt useless since she basically was capable to do everything already, and there is no clear progression or development curve to our hero. We have seen this, or it was like this in the past with Luke, where he was actually having a proper development curve, and that's why it's a bit missing. This is, however, justifiable with Rey, considering her heritage. Fast forward to the middle of the movie, which was rather abysmal to me. C-3PO had to lose all his memory of the past to decrypt the location of the Emperor, making his goodbye speech to his friends. It would have been very emotional and a touching moment, however then in the next instance, to simply resurrect him using R2-D2 felt cheap and it ruined the scene. In the same scene, Babu Frick was a rather humorous character and a nice addition to the cast, even though he was most likely a merchandise cash grab. In the next scene, the fact that Rey believed to have killed Chewie on Pisana with a Force lightning and then not was also kind of dumb plot twist. My friends agreed for this to be confusing. Here, everything felt like it was a joke or a lie, and then it actually was. It however served well to establish the connection to the dark side of Rey. The Knights of Ren here feel like a bit of a weak enemy, having little or no impact on the story. This part of the movie only serves to amplify the tension between Kylo and Rey. The climax and the final section of the movie was my favorite part of it all, even though it felt overly predictable. Keth Beer was one of my favorite scenes. It felt exciting to revisit the remains of the Death Star. I loved when they showed the throne room of the Emperor. I had an instant flashback of Luke fighting his father. The fan service was definitely present here. This was also my favorite fight scene between Kylo and Rey. When he felt his mother Leia dying, being sick from what her son had become, it felt like a moment of awakening. However, I didn't like that Rey healed him and then fled. It felt rather useless or weird that the scene could have been basically scrapped and reshooted differently. I would have preferred to have her take Kylo with herself to fight Palpatine in the final battle, seeing him unfold as Ben Skywalker. I liked that they added the last words of his father when Kylo killed him, manifesting them to reinforce the good in him. Felt like an ingenious move. Coming to the final battle of Exegol. Through the Spies of the Resistance, the concept of having portable Death Star-like weapons on every Star Destroyer is unveiled, and it serves as a genuinely impactful addition to the story. A good culmination of the developments of the Empire, or now the First Order, through the years. It extrapolates the stakes that are high for the Resistance and potentially for the galaxy. Palpatine's role in this movie reaches new heights in this section. His full stature as a clone is revealed. This again shows the long ongoing development of Palpatine's final plan, a seemingly Nazi-inspired name. Rey faces Palpatine head-on by going into his temple and confronting him. Here it is revealed that she is definitely a Palpatine. He tells her he wants her to strike him down and to take his place at the throne as Empress Palpatine. This temptation feels comparatively similar to the one Anakin Skywalker went through, even mentioning that it would have been the only way to save her friends. It's also similar to Return of the Jedi by showing the Resistance fighters dying similarly as it was shown to Luke in the past. This again was great fan service to the audience. When Kylo joins the fight, this time as Ben Skywalker, he is met by the Knights of Ren. The fight scene here feels rather dull, as it is established early on that the Knights of Ren are no match for Ben. Once Rey is joined by Ben, they are both forced to fight the rather weak guards of Palpatine. Again, the fight scene here seems rather poor. In the following scene, Palpatine attempts to suck out their souls or to obtain their Force power. This greatly weakens both, and Palpatine takes his ultimate revenge on the Skywalker family by tossing Ben or Kylo down the shaft, just as Vader did with him. This reference was also a pleasing addition to the ensemble of this movie. Then, Rey grabs Kylo's lightsaber and defeats Palpatine by blocking his Force lightning and reflecting it onto him, annihilating his body. This in fact was a rather predictable and unspectacular move. There is barely any struggle to defeat Sidious, and this partly ruined the scene for me. Officially defeating the strongest Force user in the galaxy within mere seconds. Luke had to struggle to fight Palpatine. The fight was a long one. Here this wasn't the case, and it's where the movie ended up feeling too fast-paced in the wrong moment. Exhausted by this fight, Rey collapses and dies. Ben rises from the shaft to her and decides to transfer his life or Force to her in order to save her life. Unfortunately, this is also kind of predictable as well. However, in the next scene, it was rather jaw-dropping and also expected in a way. Rey wakes up and decides to kiss Ben, ultimately as a goodbye to him, as he vanishes as a Jedi. A spectacular ending of the battle on Exegol, redeeming the character of Kylo once and for all. The rest of the movie focuses on them reuniting in a rather unimportant way. The very final scene of this movie is where it shines just a little more, to make it a good movie. This scene reveals Rey returning to the planet of Tatooine, revisiting her master's, Luke's, childhood home. Revealing she has merged the lightsabers of Luke and Leia. Being asked by a stranger who she is, she replies by saying Rey, and then waits. Here, a Force ghost of Luke and Leia appear, reinforcing that Rey is now a Skywalker, preceding by her saying Skywalker. The next shot reveals beautiful cinematography of her standing towards the lowering sun of Tatooine, just as her master did when he was young. This scene ultimately rounds off the movie with a satisfying and memorable ending. The culmination of all 9 movies, ending the Skywalker saga, ultimately bringing balance to the Force through a Skywalker. And this is what the audience deserved and was dying to see. My final verdict of this movie is that it is a good movie overall. However, it felt that the biggest issue with it is the horrible pacing, making it feel oversaturated. It felt like the editor that cut it had ADHD. Every meaningful scene was too short, trying to cram everything in. This meant a lot of the scenes lost their meaningful impact. Even scenes where characters could have been developed further or were developing were cut way too short, meaning the audience had difficulties bonding with them. Even throughout the sequels, we cannot fully see that the characters Rey, Poe and Finn have gone through a development. They feel stale and unrelatable at times. I feel that the movie should have been extended to 3 hours, just as Endgame was, since it was a similar culmination of a franchise. Another point that was critiqued was the fact that Kylo and Rey had this interconnection through the Force where they could have passed objects to each other. And I have to voice this since it felt useless and kind of dumb to the movie, and other people were mentioning this as well. What saved the movie for me was the fan service throughout the ultimate battle at the end, with the reference to Luke gazing at the falling sun. Others, my friends, felt the same way and found that this was a commendable idea on the story writer's side. The movie is a good movie, it is nowhere near perfect. However, I can still recommend it, watching it with my friends and family. Watching the final installment of the Skywalker saga is a pleasure at last. And that is why I will be giving this movie a 7 out of 10. So this was my first full review of the movie, and I hope you guys have liked it. Don't forget to like if you've liked it, and also subscribe. If you've got any improvements that I could make, there's obviously still a lot of things I could do. Write them into the comments, and yeah, see you guys in the next one.